Let the Message Wait. Control Your Fate by Elizabeth Jablesky.
JC Good and her parents were traveling home one night after JC's college graduation ceremony. Someone was texting and driving and not paying attention to the stop light ahead of them. Without looking up, he turned left into the intersection on a red light. An 18-wheeler swerved out of the way and hit JC's and her parents' car. The impact was so harsh that it killed both of JC's parents, as well as left with JC 2 months in the hospital, fighting for her own life. After those 2 long months, JC had to spend another 2 months learning how to talk again. She was unable to walk due to getting paralyzed from this car crash. Just because someone chose to text and drive, he was responsible for 2 people's lives and completely changed another's and not in a good way. Texting and driving has cost a lot of people their lives, and you don't want to be the next to be put in harm's way. Driving is dangerous as is, and adding a distraction like a cell phone is making it more dangerous. Just because you are deciding to text and drive, you could be responsible for someone's life. I have been in a car with people texting and driving and has made me feel very unsafe, as well as concerned for others' safety. I have done lots of research about texting and driving, and I'm very passionate about this subject. You should realize the dangers of texting and driving and help change the laws. Today I'll be going over the dangers of texting and driving, what you can do to stop texting and driving, and the outcome if people would stop texting and driving. So let's start off by saying some basic facts about texting and driving. 1 out of every 4 car accidents is caused by texting and driving. There are 6 million car accidents yearly, and out of that 6 million, there are 1.6 that are caused by texting and driving. A lot of people say that texting and driving is easy, but just because it's easy doesn't mean you should do it. For example, when you take 5 seconds to look at your phone while texting and driving at 55 miles per hour, you have crossed the distance of a football field. When you're traveling that distance without looking, there's a lot of different things that could happen. An animal could run across the road, or a child could, or another car could pull out in front of you. You could run a stoplight, a stop sign, and there's a lot of other factors that can go into that. In fact, you are 23 times more likely to get into a car accident due from texting and driving. These facts were from EdgarSnyder.com. Drivers ignore the warnings and continue to use their phones for the simple reason they are not convinced at all that it's dangerous. That was stated by the Time article. So I'm going to go over some stories that have happened to people due to texting and driving. First, there's Cameron Calloway, a 17-year-old girl driving home from work at 9 p.m. She decided to text and drive, and that cost her her life. Another 17-year-old texting and driving killed the father as well as his 10-year-old daughter. This 17-year-old had to spend 4 years in probation as well as 200 hours of community service. If she failed to meet the requirements of the 200 hours, then she would have to go to prison. Another 19-year-old died because of the letter K. She was not paying attention to the road, texting and driving, drove into a ditch, and that ended her life. Sarah Edwards drove into a logged truck, and it completely smashed her car and killed her from the impact. Another teen texting and driving was not paying attention to the road and hit Xavier Davis Bilbo, a 7 years old, and he was paralyzed and he's unable to walk now. These stories are all from teensafety.com. So after realizing some of the dangers, how can we stop people from texting and driving? First, we can make people aware of the dangers of texting and driving. It is extremely dangerous, and people really don't seem to understand that. Another thing you can do is write a letter to the legislators and telling them that texting and driving is very dangerous, and we need to take further action to have people obey these bans. There are current bans for texting and driving, but they are not taken very seriously, and they're not as serious as laws. According to my audience analysis, a lot of you guys are people who text and drive or know people who are texting and driving, so obviously these bans are not stopping anyone from doing it. as well as the numbers of injuries and deaths due to texting and driving are still increasing to this day, and no one is listening to these bans, so we need to take further action to make them laws in hopes people will listen to them. Distracted driving crashes began to spike. Safety campaigns were launched, and now everywhere there are warnings everywhere. The Time article continues to say, despite our efforts to curb the practice, drivers in the U.S. use their phone on roughly 88% of all of their trips, and more than half of young drivers reported engaging in hands-on, head-down reading and typing texts. There are also a lot of other things we can do to avoid texting and driving. For example, you could pull over to the side of the road, type out your text, send it, and get back on the road when it's safe. Another thing you can do is text someone before you're driving and tell them that you are going to be driving, and we'll text them when you get to your next destination. Another thing you can do is you can have someone else, if there's a passenger in your car, you can have someone else type out the text, send them, and communicate to you what that person is texting. So, what are some benefits if we got texting and driving, we took texting and driving more seriously? Benefits are you would have a higher self-esteem while driving, with you paying attention more to the road, you have a quicker reaction time and are more likely to be able to stop crashes. As well as you are keeping yourself, your passengers, and other people on the road a lot more safe by making sure you are paying attention to the road and not your phone. Other things that can happen if we make texting and driving illegal is there'd be less car accidents. Like I said earlier, there are 6 million car accidents every year, and 1.6 million are caused by people texting and driving. If texting and driving was illegal and people listened to the laws and stopped, there would only be 4.4 million car accidents per year, making the numbers decrease by a lot. Another thing is, again, keeping people safe. Safety is the number one priority, and with you not texting and driving, paying attention to the road, you are keeping yourself, your passengers, and everyone else on the road safe. Another thing is there would be less traffic violations. With people texting and driving, they're obviously not paying attention to the roads. They can blow through a stop sign or run a red light or be speeding or even slowing down because they are paying more attention to their phone than the road. There are 1.6 million car accidents that happen each year due to texting and driving. Out of that 1.6 million, there are 390,000 people that get injured or die from texting and driving. With people understanding the dangers of it, we can hopefully lower those numbers over the years. You should realize the dangers of texting and driving and help change the laws. Today I went over the dangers of texting and driving, what you can do to stop texting and driving, and the outcome if people would stop texting and driving. So next time you're driving, think twice before you pick up your phone, because you could be responsible for someone's or your own life.